And once again, we are live and back in the Winner Circle. Welcome to the Winner Circle, the podcast covering jiu-jitsu, MMA, and other combat sports. My name is Eugene Plowden, and with me, as always, my podcast partner, Isaiah Gathings. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
If this is your first time with us, I want you to know we are members of the Martial Arts Center Network. And on Mondays, you got the Winner Circle with myself, Isaiah Gathings, Chris Walker, and Angel Diaz. Tuesdays, you can get the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. Wednesday, the traditional way with Brett Shumway. And Thursdays, Fists, Kicks, and Flicks with myself, Joe Hartley, and Angel Diaz. For more information, you can check us out on all of our social media platforms. Just look for the Martial Arts Center Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, and the main app, the Martial Arts Center Network app. Zeke, it's showtime. What's happening, man?
What's up? Happy holidays, my friend.
Happy holidays to you too, man. How's everything?
Everything is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really stressful as of late. But God is good. God is in control. I'm here. I had a great holiday. How was your holiday?
It was good, man. It was nice.
Yeah.
So, like I always say every year, man. You might not know this, but Joe definitely knows this. Every year, I always say, I'm starting my holiday shopping in July. That's what I try and do every year. 2026, I want to do the majority of my holiday shopping in July and knock it out and get it over with, and just have a couple things to man, because you get a list and of things that you need to purchase for people, or you're building up a list for a couple of months, and you just kind of procrastinating and wait until the last minute, and then you can't find the right size, the right color, the right whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to try. I asked my mom, I said, what did you do for us back in the day? Before my dad started working for the Congressman Conyers, before my dad worked for, and she said that she would start her Christmas shopping in July. And that's what I'm going to try and do. And I'm going to try and push my wife to make sure that we stick to that for next year. And let's see if that works.
I don't like that. I think that's an antiquated way of shopping, and I'll explain why. There's a few things. One, they give some pretty good deals around the holidays. Deals that you're not going to be able to get in July unless they have these Christmas in July sales. So even still, with you starting in July, we're thinking that's a novel, like that's something that we just can't put on our own. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start in July. Well, they have Christmas in July, so a lot of people say the same thing you do, which is why they have these Christmas and July sales. So you're still going to be competing with people if you start in July. But I think around the holiday, they do have pretty good deals and discounts. I think that back in the day, online shopping wasn't as big as it is now. So as far as worrying about not being able to have things accessible to you, that's not as much of an issue. You're not really having to fight with crowds. Some people are doing holiday shopping off their couch with their thumbs, and then things are just being delivered to them. Meaning I can start in November if I want, you know what I mean, before Thanksgiving, and still be able to benefit from some of those deals, have things delivered to me where I'm not fighting through traffic. But for me personally, I love last minute shopping. It's just, it doesn't.
Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
It doesn't feel like Christmas. It doesn't feel like Christmas if I'm not out shopping during the holidays. It doesn't feel like Christmas. It just feels like I'm buying gifts to people randomly.
No. I get that, and I do enjoy going out to the stores in the mall, this, that, but I want the majority of my stuff done. You know what? And I did what you did also. I had a mixture of stuff. We went out, it was before Halloween, and me and my wife started getting a couple of things around Halloween. And so it was a slow process. Every now and then we would pick something up. But in December, beginning of December, I ordered something. It still hasn't got here.
Yeah,
I'm still looking at the tracking right now. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, I got a couple gifts that people said they're supposed to have for me, or things that I was looking at that hasn't arrived or was out of stock. That's why I said before Thanksgiving. That's why I said that. If you're going to online shop, you definitely don't want to do it in December, because that's what you're going to get a lot of. So that's why I said before Thanksgiving, if I'm going to do online, I would then, because I'm accounting for that rush. I want the holiday deals because it's going to be close to Black Friday, but it'll still give me 6 solid weeks to be able to deal with it, have the shipping process. But no, if it's after Thanksgiving, I'm probably going to be doing it unless it's something that I don't feel like is really in demand or very competitive, something that is very specific for a person that isn't, widely recognized or desired, then I'm gonna probably pick it up in person.
Yeah, I got that. But also, I want to do it for a peace of mind, man. I don't like being stressed out during the holiday season I don't like that feeling, because at the same time you're spending money on gifts. In the back of your mind, you're thinking about, oh, I got to pay this bill, I got to pay that bill also, so I got to make sure I cannot overdo it, because those bills are not going away. You still have those bills in addition to whatever it is you're purchasing. And with people like you and I who have businesses also on top of that, and you got home bills and you got business bills. They ain't going away. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
So that's
another reason why. I got 2 rents, 2 light bills, 2 gas bills, 2 water bills, 2 phone bills, 2 internet bills.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So for a peace of mind also, that's another reason why I wanna start in July and hopefully stick to it. At least get the big stuff out the way. Get the big stuff out the way. Yeah. So but other than that, man, we had a good time, man. The kids got everything that they wanted and that they were looking for. My wife did also. This is the thing. There's a thing also. Another thing with me, I'm surrounded by birthdays around the holidays, right? So one stepdaughter birthday is in November. Another stepdaughter's birthday is in December. My wife's birthday is literally 1 week after New Year. So my wife's birthday is coming up. January 6th is her birthday. So her birthday's coming up. And then after that, the third stepdaughter. Then January 10th, my other stepdaughter has a birthday. Then a week after that, 17th, the baby stepdaughter, she got a birthday. My son's birthday is in February. So I'm surrounded. I don't get a chance to stop spending money until March. I can't wait till March shows up. On top of that, springtime.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, because what most people are looking for after Christmas is that they're trying to get to that first. They're trying to get that first January check reprieve. They're like, look, I need this first check either at the end of December, depending upon how your pay falls, right before New Year's, or I'm gonna need it to be before the 5th, because I got to get these bills paid and I got to try to make up for all of this money that I spent for Christmas. So when you talk about you got a birthday right at the 6th, you can't even enjoy that either check right after that week after, depending whether you get paid weekly or bi-weekly after Christmas, or that first check in January. That's already ate up, because you got the 6th and you got the 10th. You know what I mean? We got birthdays on there, and then that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That really puts things to perspective. That you're really getting hit over the head. Like, it'll even be different if
get over the head. I'm getting spinning hook kicked in the head. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah. Even if they're before Christmas, then you have some leeway, because then you can just shortchange them on the gifts and then just make up for it on Christmas. Like, oh, you know what? I only got you this, but I got the rest of your stuff coming for Christmas, but I got you this. For now, you can't do that though. You gotta give them everything on Christmas, and then you gotta give them a quality birthday because it falls afterwards. That's some bull crap. That. They need to change their birthdays. You need to sit down, have a family meeting, and you need to say, "Look, I understand what day you were born. We're gonna be like Jesus, and we're gonna celebrate this thing on a different time where it regionally works out for everyone involved, me in particular. So we're gonna be born in June." You're going to be born in September. Just switch it up. They did it for Jesus. It's not a big deal. They won't mind.
My brother, my son asked me, like, why do I have to have a birthday in February in wintertime? And my wife, man, I always feel bad for her because her birthday is January 6th. So she wants to do something after. Now, it's just not about a gift. She wants an experience. She want to go somewhere. She wants some grown stuff. She wants to go to a concert, a cruise. Yeah. She wants to go to a different country. You're like, look, man, what we doing here? Or have a party. And the thing is about having a party in January, it's like, it's not even like at the end of January. It's literally a week after New Year. at that point in time, people are tired of spending money. People not really trying to come out. So last year we were able to get some friends together, and we were able to, meet up downtown and have a nice dinner together. That's not something that we can always do, because everybody's not going to be able to always do that every single year. And then that was just a dinner. So let alone she wants, sometimes she wants to party. I'm like, baby, I don't know.
New Year's is the biggest party you're gonna have. Everybody partying for New Year's. People done drinking. They claim that they done eating. They on the Daniel fast or whatever kind of fast you want to be a part of. People are at the gym now, because that the first week is when everybody's serious about their resolution. So that falls in her birthday week. At this point in time, people are serious about it at least to the 10th. So they're not trying to mess up they diet and habits or whatever.
Maybe that's what I'm going to have to start doing. Maybe I'll start having her birthday party on New Year's Eve. Maybe that might be the best thing to do.
Biggest party, man. Everybody will be there. Everybody. This is for your party.
Yeah.
This is for you. It's not for New Year's. This is for you.
Yeah, she was like, she might say it's a week early, but I don't think she would mind. Honestly, I don't think she would really mind. She probably wouldn't. So it's all good though. So you flew back to Detroit. That's why we didn't have our show last week, because you came back here, took care of some testings and other things, right? How was the trip?
Testing and a funeral. So
okay,
on the same day. On the same day. Oh wow. Yeah, left from testing and then went to a funeral of one of my old students, who was one of my friends as well. So got done with testing at 2:50 p.m. Jumped on the freeway, made it to the funeral at 3:03 p.m. And then it was an emotional day all the way around. Emotional good early on for testing, emotional bad later on. Because of the funeral. So,
did you have a lot of students show up for testing?
This was a degree testing, so I have 4 people testing for degrees, black belt degrees. Okay. So it was wasn't a ton, but it was. Those are very. All tests are special, but I have a saying, I have a lot of respect for a black belt, but I have even more respect for a second degree. You know what I mean? Because that's somebody who most people look at black belt as being the goal. That's what you're trying to get. And once I got that, nobody can say anything. I saw it all the way through, right? Like somebody that graduates from college and say, hey, I got my associates. I graduated from high school. I went to, graduated from high school. Hey, I got my diploma or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, some people go to college and they get their degree, and they get their associates. And then you have somebody that stays behind and says, I want to get my bachelor's. And then somebody stays and they say, I want to get my master's. That's kind of the equivalent to me of graduating from, through the color ranks to the black belt. It's like graduating from high school and doing what your family and what, the goal you set out for yourself, the goal that your family expected of you and everybody who supported you on that journey. They expected to see you make it through. They're proud of you. It doesn't take any type of achievements away from you. And if you want to walk away, you can say, hey, you know what? I was able to achieve this. This is a goal that a lot of individuals, haven't or would never dream to be able to complete or attain. But then I have even more respect for the people that stay behind and then they test after that, because you don't know what it's like to be a black belt until you've gotten a black belt. If I award you a black belt and you quit, you don't know what it's like to be a black belt. It just was more room for you in the underbelts. So the black belt naturally was the next progression. But once you get that black belt, then you have to start planting and sowing and seed into the martial arts by being able to teach, being able to give back, being able to help the next group get ready for their black belts. So I always have a lot of respect, and those testings are very special for me because those are the individuals who I know are going to be my instructors. Those are the people that's going to stay around. Those are the people that's interested in being able to pour back into the martial art and activity. So then I start spending a lot of time with them, not just on the mat, but off the mat, making sure they understand a lot of things about the martial arts as far as teaching, as far as the business and the industry, because likely those are people who are going to be around and help to be able to further, the academy's name, for the years to come.
Mm-hmm. The people who get their black belt and then quit, that seems like I get it sometimes, but to me, it almost seems like it was a waste of time, because I would say within 6 months of you quitting or stop training, your skills start to deteriorate. You may, and then after a year, you're going to start losing some of that knowledge that you spent all those years getting. It's almost like because you didn't spend enough time being a black belt and still training and being a student to make sure that information stays solid. I think people should still stick around from after you get your black belt, at least continue to train 3 to 5 years after you get your black belt, because the moment you stop, those skills start evaporating. You know, I had a kid, like I had students last year. I promoted some kids. All of the kids pretty much stuck around except for one student. He stuck around for a couple of months and then he left. He came back a couple of months ago and he was surprised as how much his body had changed in that time that he was away. And, you know, we were working on forms and he was forgetting some of his forms. And I was like, and you've only been going for 6 or 7 months. So imagine what's going to happen if you don't train and you come back 2 or 3 years from now. Imagine what's going to happen, you know. And he was just looking at me like, somebody said, so I'm pretty much stuck in this activity. I was like,
yeah, it kind of sucks.
If you want to,
it kind of sucks. It's like a game mentality. It's like, well, look, it was voluntarily to be a part of it, but you're in this now. We expect you to die in this thing. Like, don't ever leave, and we're gonna talk about you like a dog. We're gonna make you feel guilty when we see you. You know, like you're never leaving once you've started. Like, so I mean, I understand that for some people the end goal is black belt, and most of the time when people join up, that isn't. You know, you look up, and that's the great thing about martial arts is that you can look on the wall or you can look around your waist, and you can always see the level of progression, that how far you've come, and then depending upon what your goal is, how far you still need to go. You can also look around your waist and see exactly what your instructor thinks of you. So I don't have to wonder, what does my instructor think of me? I can look up at the wall, I can look around my waist and say, my instructor thinks this of me as being a green belt. He thinks or she thinks that this is the level and the skill that I understand from a martial art perspective, you know, at this point in time. So I love it because you can look, you can see exactly where you are, how far you need to go. But at some point in time, typically not when a person first joins, sometimes you'll have kids say, I want to be a black belt. But most of the times, so they understand what that entails, when you come in, you're doing it because it's an activity that you either always wanted to do, you want to learn how to defend yourself, you want to lose weight, you think it's fun, whatever your reasons are for doing it, it typically isn't black belt. At some point in time during that journey, you start to really set your sights on it. So that's what fixates in your mind, is that I want to get this black belt, and everything is all about the black belt, and it makes sense. So when you get it, it's just like such a relief, like such a sense of accomplishment that for some people it's like, okay, I did it. You know, almost like when you graduate high school, I did it. And then it's like, my mom was telling me, my dad was telling me, we got better walk across that stage, you know, whatever. And then it's like, okay, now what? You know, and then now you start asking yourself, do you want to go for further education? And then you'll have those people who go to college and do some college and then be like, nah, you know, I had enough. That was me. I was like, I was good at school. I hated having to go, even though I was great and I was had great academics, you know, was on the honor roll all the time. I was a scholar for the majority of my career when I was in school. But it was just like I continued education based on what it is that I knew I wanted to do. I didn't feel like it was going to serve me well or suit me, you know, to have to go for another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years after I've been in school for 12. So for some people, they like, I'm good. I've got it. Some people, they feel like they need a break, and then they'll leave to be normal and do whatever else everybody who don't do karate do, right? If you're a martial artist, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, what was that? I don't even understand what to do without martial arts. I don't know what to talk about. What's a regular person like?
Watching TV,
right.
You know, eating junk food, being lazy. They're not really doing too much of anything, hanging out with their friends.
And then you realize that and they come back. And then when they come back, that's where the problem sets in at. And that's where you really see the mettle of the student, because now it's this revisionist history. They're looking back at how good they were. They remember all of the time they put into getting ready for that black belt test, how strong they were, what great shape they were in, all the techniques that they knew how to do and stuff. And now I don't remember most of my forms. I don't remember. I'm out of shape. I had to do a couple hundred jumping jacks for my testing. I can't even do 25 or 50 now. And do I really want to start over? Now I have a black belt. So now I'm embarrassed because I don't remember things. I'm not in shape anymore. And now I'm not being looked at in the same light or vein that I was before because I wasn't a black belt. I'm now being judged and looked upon as a black belt. Do I want to go through those growing pains to try to get back to where I knew I was? Or now do I want to just walk away from it and just call it and just say, hey, look, I'm done altogether. And the majority of people, when they realize how much work they have to put back into it to try to get the knowledge back that they have lost in that short period of time, they'll come back for a brief stint and then they'll just leave and they'll call it a day, But you'll have some that'll stick it back out. Two of the people that tested this that Saturday on the 20th, they were two out of the 4 that did just that. They walked away from the activity for a while. I don't even want to use the word walked away because we were closed for some years. So they just wasn't training with me online like the other students were. And then they came back during the grand opening to do in-person training. And then they stuck it out for the whole 6 months and they had to get that knowledge back that they lost. It was tough. You saw them struggling. You saw it in their face. You saw it trying to get back in shape. It was a battle, but they did an amazing job on testing. I'm very proud of them. So it was a great day in that regard.
Well, congratulations to your students that they got their black belts. But let me ask you this: do you think, as martial arts instructors, we always push and promote getting the black belt, right? But isn't that like a low bar to set for a student? Because the easiest that honestly could be one of the easiest things you can do is get your black belt by just showing up consistently. Every class that you're supposed to be there and paying your tuition every month, eventually you're going to be there. Should we be promoting, as not just you and I, but I'm talking about our, everyone who owns a martial arts school or teaches martial arts, but shouldn't we be pushing more so of getting knowledge and skill as opposed to just getting to be a black belt? Wouldn't that go further?
Yeah. So just to piggyback off your point, and anybody that's listening, if you are not involved in martial arts, or if you are and you are not a black belt, I will concur with what it is that Gene is saying. There is no way that you will not get a black belt if you stick with it. It's just it can't happen. It can't. Now we're talking about the differential in timelines that may change, right? But as long as you show up, you work hard, you practice and you train and you receive the information, you pay your tuition, you do everything you're supposed to do. At some point, you're going to get there. I was starting to smirk a little bit while you're talking because I was thinking about your uncle. And there was a situation that happened some years ago, which I can't bring up on here. But there's a situation that happened, and he's referencing somebody. And he said, Isaiah, he says, I just never seen anybody that just couldn't get it. Like, just like as long as person been around, like if you're around this activity long enough, you should be able to get it. Like so it was a private conversation we had. Now I'm thinking about it while you're talking. Like if you hang around this activity long enough, you're gonna get a black belt if that's the goal that you have. If you do everything,
but that's a low goal. It should be. I'm gonna tell you what. In 2015, I went back to college. And I was in school for about a year and a half. I went back for 2 but when I went back this time, it wasn't because my parents wanted me to go back. And I damn sure didn't go back because I wanted to get good grades. I was older. I didn't give a damn. I wasn't worried about my parents getting mad at me for not getting an A or a B or anything. I went back for me. And not only that, I went back for me. I also went back because I wanted the knowledge. I wanted the information. I did not care. When I took those tests and did those reports, I didn't care about getting an A. I just wanted to make sure that I did the best possible that I could on the test or when I turned that paper in. And by doing that, just because I'm doing that, I ended up getting, sometimes, I got a C plus or sometimes I got a B. I might not have gotten an A and I looked and said, I messed up on this. Okay, I got it, this, that, and the other. And I moved on. I, threw the paper to the side and moved on. And I was doing it for me. And eventually that knowledge stuck in my head and stayed with me. Even now, like, just talking to my wife, I'll bring up something that I learned in college because I was paying attention and I was engaged in the conversation. I purposely did not sit in the middle of the classroom in the desk or in the back. I sat in the first or second row on purpose because I knew if I was in the first or second row that I had to pay attention because I'm sitting this damn close to the professor. And also I joined in the conversation and made it more like dialogue between myself and the professor. So I was getting that information and retaining that information. So I think that at least as far as me and as I go, I'm going to start pushing that more in my school as far as helping these kids. Don't worry about the black belt. You're going to get there. You're going to get there. If you want to get there, you're going to get there.
I disagree.
But we gotta make sure that we're doing these techniques correctly and make sure that we're paying attention to what we're doing and not just going through the motion. And I think that would make a better martial artist, because you can mess around and have some green belts and blue belts that look better than a sorry black belt. Just because
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. I don't mean to cut you off. I disagree. I'll tell you why. As a business owner, I went to a summit back in November, which was very informative. A martial art business summit. And this guy's approach to his school was incredible to me. Like the things that we talk about that we value, he didn't at all. He even prided himself in saying he hadn't taught a class in 12 years. You know what I mean? And he asked like 5 locations. You know what I mean? It was insane. But he was, as martial artists, we're not supposed to talk about business. It's supposed to be almost like religion, right? It's supposed to be a very pious role where you're Ryu or whatever else, and we training out in the wilderness, like, because I ain't got no bills that need to be paid, so we can't talk about money. We can't, because then you all about the money. And he was just like, look, man, like, all of your traditional martial art values, you can keep them. Those are great, relevant inside your own academy. Like your uncle says, rank what matters only inside your academy, right? These things are important is in your particular realm, but I'm here to help you understand from a business perspective things that you need to understand, and numbers and figures you need to know and understand. Here's one of the things that we talked about: the lifetime expectancy of a student. That's something that as instructors we don't want to talk about and think about, because we feel like that we're failures when people leave, right? That the program sucked. I did a poor job as an instructor. I did a poor job reaching an individual and things like that. You start really toiling over and asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Was I not attentive? Did I not do my DNS calls? Did not show when they didn't show up? Did they have a bad class? Did I test? Did I say something wrong? Did I not do more? Did I not do? And the truth of the matter is, especially when you're dealing with young adults or even adults who have complicated lives, somebody gets pregnant, or somebody loses their job, they move, people get divorced, whatever. When you're dealing with other human beings, especially an industry that's largely children, which parents have to be involved. It's a third party. That means that the child signs up and commits, the parent has to commit, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. Things are going to happen, and there's an average lifetime expectancy of a student, which is about 10 months, is what I came to understand. 10 months. So that's not even a year. So think about it from this perspective. In 10 months, I can guarantee, without knowing your ranking system or anybody who's listening who is an instructor or has an academy, in 10 months' time, at the very most, these people will be in their second belt. I'm sorry, they would have went through 2 belts. So outside of the white belt, they might have advanced to 2 different belts. If you have a belt with a stripe in there, that's an interim belt before you go to that next full solid belt or whatever. So like for my system, we have white belt, yellow belt, green belt, right? There's 3 stripes in the white belt. There's 3 stripes in the yellow belt. There's 4 stripes in the green belt. In 10 months' time, a student probably, depending upon if they've been coming regularly, if they've been coming to all their classes, know what they're supposed to do, pass their evaluation, their testings, they won't be past green belt. And that's, again, they'd have to be doing an exceptional job to be all the way through white belt, all the way through 3 stripes in the yellow belt, and then also in green belt. But it can happen in 10 months. You have some kids that are really dedicated, parents are serious and committed, or whatever the case is. So if 10 months is the average lifetime expectancy of a student, you're going around saying that's easy. That's coming from somebody that's been in the martial arts as long as you. You've already figured out what your why is. And again, you're in a family of martial artists. So there's a different level of pressure, understanding, things that's associated with this, because like the standard in most families is for a child to walk across that stage and graduate, or in some families is you're getting your college degree. That's the standard. I don't even want to talk about high school graduation. You're getting your master's. We're a family that all gets our master's degrees. So when you are applauded, when you are a certain family, it's not even like, look, we're not even talking about it. You know what I mean? The baby come out, they already got their little gi waiting for them on the side. You know what I mean? We're not having this conversation. Your last name is Plowden. Your last name is Gracie. Of course you're doing jiu-jitsu, right? Of course you're going to be a coral belt or whatever the case is. So if the average lifetime expectancy of a student is 10 months, which means they're in their second or third belt, when you look at black belt, which is a 4-year belt, 3 years if you are just on a fast track and you're a stud, and that's probably going to be an adult. A child probably isn't going to be a 3-year black belt. You know what I mean? An adult, because they can process information at a different pace, they may be. But 3 to 4 years. So from 10 months, we'll even say 3 years, from 10-month expectancy to a 3-year commitment and achievement. And that's with all of the fees and everything associated with it and all of the different changes in life. I don't think that that's as easy of a goal as you're trivializing it and making it seem. I think that's really big when you look at the average lifetime expectancy of a student, understanding that most students don't even make it a year. And if they do, you're doing an exceptional job, and they're probably very serious about this. And so to squeeze another 2 to 3 years out of them, and all of the money, fees, tournaments, gear packages, uniforms, and everything else they're dealing with in life, I think that's a pretty solid goal to give them.
I don't know, man. Because I know I remember being around my uncle's school, and there were some people who they weren't tournament competitors or anything like that. But I'm like, why are they testing for their black belt? Really, like, they're ready. And once they got their black belt, we never saw some of these people again anyway. So it really didn't matter. And it really all they did was show up. They very rarely went to tournaments. They did. I can't even say they did the best they could training, because there's sometimes
y'all leave these people alone. Y'all bullies over there, man. He said tournament 2 or 3 times. If you're listening, he said tournament. We talk about martial arts. He like, man, they just showed up, man. They didn't even really do no tournaments like that. They didn't even really come down and bang like on Fridays like we supposed to.
Oh, listen, no.
Leave these people alone. These people, why is different than yours. They just want to come and learn martial art. Because they don't go and win the Warrior Cup. They don't go to AKA Grand Nationals.
They ain't doing it. They ain't doing it. They ain't doing it.
Leave these people alone.
They ain't doing it. But like I said, to me, that student, I would appreciate them more if they were trying their hardest, trying to nail those forms, doing it. You can tell, you've been teaching for a long time. You can tell when somebody's when they're training to the best of their ability, or they being lazy. And you can tell there's a big difference. You can see it as an instructor.
But again, the black belt might have been what they're shooting for when they came in. That might be their goal. And another thing that you can't dismiss, which is why you keep bringing up tournaments, when you're training with a purpose, your effort level changes because your why changes. The reason that you're doing something changes. You're competing now. I'm a big proponent of tournament competition. I am, because I know exactly what you're talking about is true. You're doing your best, or you think you're doing your best, because you don't feel like you're ever going to have to utilize this particular skill set outside of passing or testing. So you just, as long as you can coast and you can pass the minimum requirements, that's good enough. And maybe you're just not being challenged, so you don't even know you have another level because you have no reason to push to that next level. Listen, I was telling somebody recently, I'm like, look, when somebody passes the bar to be a lawyer, somebody's passing that bar with the minimum grade.
Oh,
like if you can get a C-, you might have a C- lawyer. It don't say that on the certificate though. It just says he passed the bar. Congratulations, you are a lawyer for Smithstein, Hammersmiths, and Firth. You know what I mean? And don't nobody ask you what grade did you get when they hire you. What about that doctor that's getting ready to do the operation on you? That guy got a C+, man. He barely got out of medical school. Doesn't matter. He passed, right? So it just says Dr. Stevens, right? And he's going to come in here and cut on you with that C+ average that he had all the way through medical school, or whatever the minimum requirements is. He's still a doctor. So for some of these people, they're like, look, man, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I passed the black belt testing. I got the black belt. I have a certificate to show for it. I have it up on my wall. That's what some awesome people want. But the truth is that sometimes people don't really realize they have another level unless they have to actually use what it is they're learning. Competition ensures that you do. Because guess what people don't want to do? If we're just talking about forms, it's not that they don't want to lose. They don't want to be embarrassed. That's the biggest thing. They go on these time competitions most of the time not having any expectation of winning. But when all the people looking at them and they looking like they're embarrassed, that's going to be like, look, I don't want to be embarrassed out there. So that's the number one goal for many individuals is let me look like I at least belong out there. So I'm going to try as hard as I can. That's harder than I am in class because of the fact that I know that I'm going to have to use this on Saturday. Now I've went and I've standing in the back of the line and I'm what we call, a clapper. I used to tell the kids, don't be a clapper. Don't be a clapper, dog. Don't be a clapper. Don't let me see you. I'm going to be over here in the other ring. If I see you clapping in the back, we're going to talk about it when we get you to school because we're not about to be no clapper in the back like this here.
Man, that's good sportsmanship. You don't want to have a good sportsmanship?
No. Let me clear this up. Clap if you clap if you don't win. Be a good sportsman.
Okay.
But don't be a clapper. Don't be the person that's always in the back just clapping.
I got you.
Be the person that's going on the front line, getting a fourth or third or second or first placing and working your way up. Don't be the person that's always in the back just clapping because you're not. We're gonna all be a clapper at some point, right? Mm-hmm. We're gonna all be one of the people in the back, and we're not gonna place. That's gonna happen. But you should work to be able to work your way to where you are now placing. So again, it's gonna go from me not wanting to be embarrassed to now me being in the back clapping. At least I look like I belong. And then now I'm working to be able to start progressing and starting placing and things like that. So that's the second goal. After not being embarrassed, is now being able to work to where I'm actually placing and I'm being successful. But for them, again, to the point that I'm trying to make, it's not so much the fact that they're not giving their best effort. They don't know that they have a switch that they need to switch on because they don't have any reason. They don't know there's another level that they have.
No.
Because they're not using it.
No, I disagree with that because I've seen it. I've seen either in my own school and I've seen it in my uncle's school and other schools when the head instructor, let's say somebody is half-assing, barely doing the forms, not putting it all into it. And then, push-ups come into play and we up to doing 30 push-ups now because you've been bullshitting on the forms. And I've seen that switch because they're pissed now. And now they're blocking harder and those stands are so
but that's something though. But see, it's not a tournament, but it's now they're still being incentivized in a different kind of way.
Yeah, but I shouldn't have to do that to incentivize you. You need to be doing that at all times. That is the purpose. Those are the people that should be worthy of being black belts, Right. So sometimes you get some people that might skate through, but that's that. We're gonna leave that open. We'll bring that back up. Let's move on. So let's talk about this. The Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. This is the first Jake Paul fight I've actually watched. Normally when he fights, I've seen the clips online. I never really watched a Jake Paul fight. And after I watched this fight, I said, he is not a boxer. He is somebody who boxes, but he is not a boxer. I don't care what Angel tells me from now on. He is not professional. When you see him in the ring with a true professional, you look at him and say he's not a professional. He's just somebody who boxes. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking him for it. But when I looked at his stances, when I looked at the way how he was moving around the ring, boxers don't move like that. And it's because he doesn't have those years of the muscle memory, right? Like a lot of times when boxers start fighting or in start training, how old do they start? About 8, 9, 10. And they go through the amateurs, they go through the Golden Gloves and all of that. He just started training 4 or 5 years ago. So he does not have that muscle memory. Most of the times, those boxers, by that time, when they're in their 20s, they have been training for almost 20 years. If they're 26, 27, 28 years old, and they started when they were little people, no, that muscle memory is going to be there, and it's going to work in their favor. He got exposed, and I think that Anthony, and people are saying like he did good because Anthony Joshua had to wait to the sixth. No, I'm looking at Anthony Joshua could have ended that in the first round. That would have messed stuff up for Netflix and MVP promotions and everything. I think that he just took his time with him. What do you think, man?
So there's a few things here. One, if you go back to our last show, I said, that Jake Paul I thought he had a chance of winning this fight. I said it's a good possibility that he can win. I said I've never said this about any of the other fights that he was in before. And obviously, the minute I try to buy in on some nonsense, this is what happens to him, which I think is great, by the way, which I'll get to in a second. I think it's great for the sport. And I'll articulate about why I said, if you didn't watch the last episode, I thought he'd be able to win, which quickly dissipated the minute that the fight started for some of the reasons you brought up. But before, several months ago, we've been talking about Jake Paul. You know, he's obviously in the news and trending and things like that. I've always said that the problem that I had with him, that I didn't like his legs, his footwork, the way he moves does not look natural like a boxer. So I'm smiling and I'm happy that you said what you said, because I've always said I don't like the way I look at the feet. Like if his forms, if we're at a tournament, when I'm judging forms, I'm looking at the feet up, the stances, everything, the legs up. That's what you standing on that. That's your foundation. There could be no form if you can't stand, right? You know, there are no ground forms, right? So I'm looking at the stances because that's where your power comes from.
Yep.
When I'm watching the way he moves, you hit the nail right on the head, because this isn't something that is natural for him. The muscle memory isn't there because he did not. A lot of you guys don't understand. A lot of these boxers that you see at this level, they have had over 200 amateur fights. 200, right? And then they'll go to the Olympics, the 180 fights, 200 fights or whatever, go to Olympics. Then the record starts over from zero, and then you're now a professional. So all of those 200, 150 fights, whatever, doesn't count. Now you're working your way through the professional ranks, and to get to the level of where Jake Paul is fighting, it typically takes about 30 to 35 professional fights to get to fight the names he's fighting. So we're talking about somewhere around 230 fights, total, not counting if you went to the Olympics, how many fights you had to have in the Olympics, 220, 230 fights. If a amateur boxer has 100 fights and turns pro, that's considered a small record. That's not a big record. So you're like, you only had 100 fights, you only had 50 fights. You understand? Only. I'm saying only. He didn't have any of that. So when you talk about muscle memory, it's because of all of that lack of training and ring experience is showing. So somebody that has worked with fighters of every caliber from the different combat sports, I'm able to look at these things and say, this is not a natural looking movement. And that's important in boxing, because once you have to stop and pivot and turn, or evade, or you have to actually sit down and sit on a punch, or better yet, take a punch that's coming. If your legs and footwork is not, in place, then it's going to show. That damage is going to be very telling on you. And your punch power and efficiency is going to deteriorate, or drop exponentially, right? So I didn't like his footwork in the past. I said that the reason I thought that he would have a chance is because we've seen how Anthony has taken shots directly on the chin, particularly from people who may be a little bit shorter than him, that have to punch up and him having to punch down. His power would go down a little bit by him having to punch down. I've trained a lot of people where we worked overhand rights, and if he can catch that overhand punch right on the chin because he's punching up, I'm not happy with the way I've seen Anthony respond to some big shots in the past. So I thought if he would have threw a Hail Mary overhand and caught him on the chin, he might have rattled him, and then he could have worked on getting him out of there. At the outset of the fight, at the beginning, he was automatically backing up. His footwork looked terrible. And then the jab just wasn't there, and it wasn't effective. I was able to tell early on that any hopes that I thought he would have had of winning wasn't going to happen because he wasn't implementing that game plan. I also looked in his corner and saw that he had some new coaches. I'm not really sure what happened there. One of the coaches that he had before were good friends with Dewey, and he was one of my favorite boxers coming up, BJ. He was a great fighter, and the fundamentals and the game planning that they had going to those fights show, which is probably why he was successful. Why he changed camps, I don't know. I'm not a part of that mix, so I don't understand that. So
how old is Jake Paul?
I think we looked it up the last time. No, we looked up his height. We didn't look up his age.
Go ahead, keep on talking. I'm gonna look it up.
So again, I thought he could win if he implemented a particular game plan, which he didn't. You're right. His movement looked very poor. His brother went on First Take and they asked him about the fight. And I am very proud of him because if you saw that first take episode, he said you could tell he was struggling for words. And he said, to be honest with you, the fight went the way it should. He said, if you looking at this thing objectively, and I'm his brother, and I love him to death, and I'm proud of him and of everything he's done. He was standing there for the whole time. Because now you hear people they grade on the curve. It's went from, oh, great Jake Paul. Well, he did good though, because he stayed there the whole. He hung in there for this many rounds or whatever. It's like, wait a minute. It's went from him winning fights to now when he's in there with legitimate professional champions, he did good. Well, which is it? So now they're grading on the curve. He was going to do that, but he said, listen, he says, if you look from the outside looking in, how else would this fight have went? This man was a world champion. He's an Olympian. And my brother was going to come in there and do what? He says, my brother has a delusional belief in himself, which is I love. And that's the reason why he's accomplished the things he has in life. And I never want him to lose it. And I'm proud of him. But the fight went the exact way it should have went. A bigger guy who's an Olympian, a world champion, broke his jaw. That's what should happen. He says, I'm not saying this in any type of disappointing light or vein. I'm proud of my brother. But if you thought anything else would happen, then that's great. That shows what kind of belief that my brother projected into you. But if you're looking at this from an objective and logical standpoint, the fight went the way that it should have went. I agree with Logan in that particular regard. It went the way it should have went. If there is any, I don't know about this. I'm not in this conspiracy theory stuff about people taking falls and being paid off. I try to stay out of that kind of business. If it is happening, I know it happens all the time in boxing and other sports as well. But if there was any offer for that to happen, I'm so happy that Anthony didn't do that, because I think that he really restored a lot of respect in boxing by not just going the distance, not just hanging in there, not just winning, but by dropping him, by breaking his jaw. This showed him, you, me, anybody else watching, stay out of this ring with these real folks. Otherwise, there could be some real consequences that come of this if you are not properly trained and going through the steps and the measures. The people who are boxing fans, enthusiasts, they're like, finally, thank you, right? This is a tough sport to be a part of, and we don't need to be mocked and trivialized the way that it has been. I hope that it really starts to put more respect back into boxing. I hope that moving forward, people who are using Jake Paul as a template, I'm not mad at what he's done. I'm just saying that if people step into the black belt ring, at the tournament that you at, and they was a green belt and they fighting up the black belt, and then your uncle gonna look at you and he like, look, I don't even have to say nothing. I know what bet not happen though. I know what bet not happen. And he gets in there with his green belt on, with the green belt. He just did forms with the green belt. He just did Kecho 3. I'm sorry. He just did Peon 1. I'm sorry. He just did Peon 1, and then he went and he put his spawn gear on, and he walked in the black belt division, and then you have to fight him first. And you look over at your uncle, and he like, I'm not even gonna say nothing, but I know it better not.
Uncle's probably gonna say he better not score. He better not even score on you. Let alone he better not beat you. He better not score. He better not touch you. It's overtime. It's overtime. It's overtime now. I'm gonna hear that forever. I hear that 10, 15 years from now.
You in the green belt that just lost on Peon 1 over in ring 3. And y'all in overtime now, right? It's nonsense. Stop it. It's nonsense.
So what do you think Jake Paul does from this point forward? What do you think? I got a couple ideas.
He has to fight again. He has to, because if he doesn't, this will cement.
But who does he fight? Does he fight another MMA person? Does he fight? A true boxer? Does he grab 50 Cent? Fight 50 Cent?
He has to fight another legitimate boxer. Now, whether he fights that person next or not stands to be that remains to be seen, right? He has a broken jaw. He can get away with because he has a broken jaw. So
no. He got a year off. But I mean, after this year, I'll explain in a minute. But go ahead.
No, you're supposed to have a tune-up fight, is what we call these. When something happens to you that traumatic, where you are injured, you need to have a tune-up fight. You know what I'm talking about. We from Detroit, right? You got injured, or you've been gone for a couple years. We gonna do what? Sorry, guys. If you're from Michigan, you know what I'm talking about. We gonna head up north, right? We're gonna head up north. We're gonna hit a couple of tournaments. I ain't gonna say no names. We're gonna head up north, hit a couple of tournaments. We're gonna get some first place, win some grand champions. Then we'll come on back down to the city. And then I see y'all in the ring, ready to fight to the death, because that's what it is when we fight back down that way. But he has to fight another legitimate boxer, because at this point, then everything that people have said will be true. Now, whether he fights that person after this his first fight back, or he fights that person second or third, that remains to be seen. But he has to fight another boxer at this point to show that the only reason I was garnering this level of success is not because I was fighting these sideshow people, but because of the fact that I actually have some boxing skill. And the only reason I lost to him is because of the caliber and boxer in which he is.
This is what I would do if I'm him. Number one, I'm not fighting another professional boxer. He's fought 2 professional boxers as of now, like Tommy Fury and Anthony Joshua. The results gonna be, and Mike Tyson's 100 years old. that don't count.
It counts. Oh, my hero.
It counts. No, man, I'm not counting Tyson. Now, if he fought Tyson back in the day, that's a different story. But what I would do is I would lean into the celebrity boxing thing. Like, just continue to fight celebrities and make MVP a celebrity boxing I don't want to say promotion. Yeah, I guess promotion. And because he had Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate's not a boxer. He had Andrew Tate on this card. I didn't watch that fight. I know he lost, but I didn't watch that fight.
I missed the Anderson Silva fight. I missed that fight.
And he beat up Woodley,
Yeah, I missed that fight.
So, MVP is his promotion. I will promote. I mean, that's a big money maker. So if I'm Jake Paul, he's 28 also. He's not old. He's kind of in the prime as far as being an athlete. He's in the prime of his life right now. So what I would do if I want to continue to fight, I'm either doing the celebrity fighting thing, or number 2, I think that he will have better results if he goes into MMA. If he goes into MMA, he has a year off right now as far as competition. This year, I would spend doing jiu-jitsu, learn the ground, jiu-jitsu and wrestling, learning the ground game. Now, after a year, you're not going to be a purple belt. But in the division that he possibly be in, he could fight. I wouldn't suggest he fights heavyweight, but he can go either light heavy or middleweight and fight in those divisions. You don't think so?
No.
He just fought Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua.
If he did MMA, he'd have to do heavyweight if he had a chance. He'd have to.
But he was going to drop. He was going to drop weight to fight. What's my
Tank.
man?
Tank.
Tank. So he was going to drop down and to fight him.
The reason I'm saying that is because of the fact that because he doesn't have a background with this, he needs to be in the most unathletic division that there is in MMA, and that would be heavyweight. That would be heavyweight.
But he doesn't have a chance against John Jones or Tom.
Well, I mean, if he fighting those kind of guys, if that's the people you're comparing him to,
that's what he's going to be because he has a connection with Dana White in the UFC. So if he does MMA, that is going to be the organization.
Middleweights and light heavyweights are killers, dude, and they're very athletic.
But I can't see him in the heavyweight division. Them boys are stupid. The 260 is the limit,
bro.
In UFC heavyweight.
Look at some of these heavyweights. You're looking at outliers, right? Look.
Isn't Aspinall's the champion? Aspinall's the champion right now.
Recently, the dude with the big belly. What was his name? Chris something, and he likes to do the spin the hook. Like, he could fight somebody like that. That guy's a heavyweight. Like, that guy's a typical heavyweight.
Yeah,
Derek,
but this is the thing.
Lewis. He ain't gonna beat Derek Lewis. But a lot of these guys, they're not in the best shape. They're not, and if they are, they're not very athletic. The middleweights and the light heavyweights, if you look at the weight that they're cutting down from to make that
they're cutting down from like his weight. They're cutting down from like the weight that he's at now. I can't see him fighting somebody that could top it off at 260. That's the limit for heavyweight, right?
265.
265, man. Damn. Like, I can't see. He's going to look small, I think. I think he walks around like at 220. So, if he cuts, I mean, most of the middleweights cut down from 220 or so, right? Oh, Zeke, your internet's messing up now, bro. I hear you trying to come back in.
The fourth now.
There you go. There you go.
All right,
What'd you say?
there we go. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, what'd you say?
Yeah, no. Most of them are cutting down from like 220 for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear that approach. I just think that it would tarnish his legacy even further. Because he'd have to eat a lot of the words. I don't think you have a problem with that because that's the things you say when you're winning. But he has started leading people to believe that he had championship aspirations, and when you lose one fight, and then you all of a sudden turn into this owner's doing
his I think his only other option, only other option, if he's not going to do MMA, and if he just doesn't just want to be a promoter, I think his only other option will be to join his brother in the WWE.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but other than that, man, as far as seeing him fight another boxer, if he does fight another true boxer and loses, he's definitely done after that. Because what's the purpose?
We can entertain this conversation, and what you're saying would make sense. But it's like saying somebody fell off the bike or off the horse and then they never got back on again. It's like you got to get back on at least one more time and try it out. Honestly, I mean, he lost against an upper echelon guy that was an Olympian and a champion. Like that, there's no shame in that. And he knew that when he took the fight. He knew that at the end of the day, I'm playing with house money. Like I fought Anthony Joshua, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, hell, you know, you had Francis fought Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? I mean, and he's not hanging his head low. He already looking for another boxing match, and he want to fight somebody else.
Yeah,
he didn't lose in the same fashion that Joshua lost.
No. But
token, I mean, I think that he needs to do one more. I don't think it should be his first fight coming back, but I think
the thing about Francis also, Francis had years of competing in MMA also. And
he had a lot of boxing training. He had a lot of boxing.
Yeah, and that's just something that Jake doesn't have. That's my only issue with it. Like he doesn't have that foundation. He never had a solid foundation as being a true fighter. And whether it's MMA or boxing, like he doesn't have that foundation. So it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like, okay, now, you know, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Like the curtain got pulled back. We see what it is with you. You know, I don't think there's nothing wrong if he could step in and do some fights in MMA with some other fighters. I'm not saying
I think it's bad. I think that's a bad idea. I think that you're trivializing.
But look, there are better people where it could be more entertaining if he fights a Ryan Bader, someone that's a little bit older, but somebody that's going to give him a good fight in the light heavyweight division. There's nothing wrong with that, having that fight.
I'd rather you say bare knuckle boxing than MMA. I don't think that.
I'm not putting him in that. I don't like that sport. I don't like that sport in general. So that's why I'm saying
I'm not a fan of it either. You know, I'm not against it. It's not something I sit down and watch. We've trained a couple people who became bare knuckle boxers. I mean, you know, so we worked with those people before. I'm just saying that you're looking at a lot of the UFC people because of how well they're paying. They're leaving.
But no. It's just not that. It's a combination of stuff. Like he has a name. Dana White and UFC loves that he has a name. So he's going to bring eyes. He's going to bring eyes to.
Then he needs to go to somewhere like one because
for a couple. Yeah, I agree. One or two fights in one.
Because the bottom line is that you cannot get wrestling and jiu-jitsu that well in the year, not without having the background. That's the reason I'm saying that. If he goes to somewhere like one, he can negotiate terms to where they can have a match that's just a stand-up match, where he can have a standing match with 4-ounce gloves on, and they can work on just striking. The reason I keep saying I don't like MMA is because I don't believe in a year's time that with his grappling prowess and wrestling is going to be on par with anybody in any of those divisions that you named.
No, you're right. But also think about how jiu-jitsu is looked at now in MMA. It's not like it was back in 2005 or 6. There's a lot of people that want to do more stand-up, more so wrestling. They're not doing as much jiu-jitsu now. I mean,
But
armbar, rear neck control, that's pretty much it that you're getting now.
But you know what they don't want to do? They don't want to lose to somebody who's not an MMA guy. So if the easiest path to victory is to be able to take you in waters that I know that you probably lack and you're not good at, that's what I'm going to do. If I know Jake Paul's coming in to the UFC, I'm going to treat him like when CM Punk came into the UFC.
Dana's not going to do that to him, though. Dana's not going to do that to him.
I can't lose. I can't lose to this guy. And I need to do what Anthony Joshua just did and knock his behind out or submit him.
Yeah. Dana ain't doing that. Dana ain't going to do that to Jake. As a matter of fact, he might put him on that show that he has. Dana White looking for a fight or the Contender Series. He might throw him on that.
He wouldn't put him on that because that's the meaning. That's a lower level. That's you working your way up. He already has a name. So he wouldn't expose him to that.
But you don't think he will have him fight someone who Dana kind of has a feeling that he would possibly beat?
Because if he loses, then he can't even fight on the big stage. So Dana makes no money.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Dana makes no money.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Wish him the best, speedy recovery. Keep hustling, man. Let's move on to the next topic, man. I want to know, Zeke, how did you do it? Like I was telling you in our pre-show, man. I wrote it down. So you were managing fighters. You were teaching at your own academy. You're coaching your students. You are promoting a league on your own. You were competing yourself, and also you were learning jiu-jitsu also. As you were doing all this, were you a blue belt, purple belt, or what in jiu-jitsu when you were doing all of this?
At that point in time, well, I mean, obviously I was a white belt because I just started. I started doing jiu-jitsu once I had my academy already opened.
Okay.
It wasn't something I was doing before I opened my academy. So I was a white belt and working my way up like everybody else. Right.
Mm-hmm. So how did you that's some hella time management. How'd you do it, man?
First of all, thank you for thinking enough of me. Challenging that would be and wanting to hear the story because I know that we've already spent a lot of time talking about other topics. A great compliment from a guy who became a good friend of mine, Al Cooper, from Cooper's Gym. He was a guy who I always saw that was a part of every single thing that was massive on top of running his own academy and things like that as well. He looked at me, he says, "You're the busiest guy I've ever seen. You're the busiest guy I know." And I laughed when he told me that, but he ended up telling me on multiple occasions. And I thought that was amazing. And it sunk in at one point in time because I think that when you're moving, you don't really realize, you don't understand how much is getting done, how much is transpiring. I'll say a few things. One, I had youth on my side, and that's big. I was always ambitious. Another thing that I didn't have is I didn't have a ton of failures. So when you're young, you're ambitious, and you haven't fallen a lot, then you feel like everything's in front of you, and you have no problem trying to accomplish other things. It's typically those failures that get you to kind of thinking like, man, last time I tried this, it didn't really work out that well, and you start to be kind of cautious, right? Like an adult and a child. A child, you watching it when you was a kid, you jumping off garages, you seeing people jump over fences, people jumping down flights of stairs, right?
Yeah, to different
platforms, right? Yeah. Crazy, right? And now as an adult, you looking and you holding your kid's hand. What are you doing? Get off that rail. Don't do that. Why are you crazy? You can hurt yourself. And you're thinking like everything you do, even a misstep, you're considering how you may hurt yourself because you've been hurt before. You've been injured. You've sprained this. You've broken that. You fractured this. You've been in hospital. So you have these painful things to compare them to, but you're fearless when you're younger. So I had youth. I had ambition. I hadn't had a ton of failures, and then I was blessed with a good staff and support group. So I had people that I can lean on to be able to help me in other areas and kind of feed me things in my ear or keep me aware with emails or texts and things like that. When you watch First Take, you see Stephen A. Smith talk about how amazing he is, how successful he is, and things like that. But he has microphone in his ear. He has a laptop in front of him. He has a cell phone sitting right on his desk. And while he's listening or he's talking or working or when he's even out when he's in the field, at all points in time, there's somebody in his ear letting him know about this. emailing them this, sending him up-to-date stuff. You have to have a good support group to be able to accomplish a great deal of things. You can do it by yourself, but you're not going to be able to do it at the level that you would at an optimum level. Not as many things when you have so many things on your plate. So I was doing electrical work. The goal was, and I was even doing music when I was younger. So the goal was the music was going to eventually get me the martial arts, right? And then eventually, the music thing started to subside a little bit. It wasn't that big of a deal. I was doing electrical work, and it's like the electrical fund the martial arts, which eventually was able to help do that. When I opened up my martial art academy, I still was doing electrical part-time. So it went from me doing electrical full-time, teaching part-time, to me doing the teaching more full-time, the electrical more part-time, or at least at the very least 50-50. And then I just had a lot of, blessings and a lot of things that just fell into place a certain type of way. I had my school started to grow slowly. I was able to get some decent people that believed in the vision and the school, and was able to pour into the academy time or whatever kind of resources that they had to be able to help out. But time was the biggest thing. People that were able to treat it like a regular job and be there. I would have my assistant, Christine, would sometimes be there at 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning before I even got there, ready to answer phones, answer questions when people came in. They prided themselves in their work, and they took it seriously. The instructors that showed up when they needed to teach classes. So it afforded me an opportunity to be able to do other things. I wanted to start doing jiu-jitsu. I met Montes Peterson from the DMAA, the Detroit Martial Arts Alliance, was something that's small that we started, try to bridge a gap between various martial arts styles and systems. It didn't really yield very much results outside of me being able to meet some good brothers in there and some friends that are still my friends today. Because we all did different arts, I was fascinated by jiu-jitsu. Him and I became friends. I eventually went to see what a class looked like. When I realized how inept I was on the ground with all of the training that I learned over these years, and I was convinced that I can defend myself in any situation, it was eye-opening to me. So I was like, I need to do this. It's something I need to do, and it's something that will be of value to my students. So when people ask me, did I compete a lot in jiu-jitsu? I didn't, because it wasn't my goal. I started it because I wanted to teach the most complete martial arts system for my students. And I don't want to teach some BS when I know doggone well that when you get on the ground and somebody's on top of you, to throwing a reverse punch, or whatever, is not going to stop its assailant. You need some real tactics and understanding when you're on the ground. I needed to understand these things so I could teach to my students, so I can give them the best product. Eventually, I did compete and things like that. MMA started to blow up, and that kind of became big. So I started participating in that. It was something I looked at, I was afraid of when I first saw it. I said, I'm never going to do that. And I'm like, you know what? Now I have to sign up for it, right? Because I don't ever want fear to inhibit me from doing things. So I said, I need to do it. If I'm a real martial artist and I believe in what it is that I'm doing, I need to do this, because I can't let this be a fear of mine. So I signed up for MMA, started training in that, did some fights in that. And then the competition stuff was just really a blessing. I looked in Michigan. There was only 1 or 2 events that was happening a year. I was addicted to jiu-jitsu. I know there were so many other people from my academy and other academies that just really wanted to do jiu-jitsu. I had experience promoting tournaments. That's something that I had going in that a lot of people, I was far ahead of them. They didn't have it. I had experience promoting karate tournaments. I'm like, what's the difference? Karate, jiu-jitsu, what do I need? I need mats. Back when we promote karate events, we didn't use mats back in the day. I'm like, so
that tape on the floor.
Yeah. I'm like, where can I get some mats from? Okay. My sister knew a guy that was the wrestling coach at a local school. How much to rent some mats? He's like, give me $300 to rent them and I'll deliver them to you. Okay. So I can use one of the venues that I use to do karate tournaments. It was $300 for mats. They don't even give out trophies. They give out medals, which medals are cheaper than trophies. Marsha, God rest her soul, God bless her soul, was, everybody's trophy person. You know what I mean? So I'm like, how much is it for medals? So I'm starting to look at how much it costs to be able to do this. I'm looking at a starving industry of people that there's a huge demand, but there's a small supply. And then even what the people that are having tournaments, they aren't even the best quality tournaments. And they're not any too much more qualified than me. They may be a higher rank in jiu-jitsu, but that doesn't mean anything because they don't have any organizational or promotional skill or ability. So I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. Like, I'm going to put this up here. I'm going to see. I started a league. Actually, me and your uncle talked about it at the outset, of it together. Him and I spoke at length about it on the phone, had multiple phone conversations about it, bouncing ideas off one another and things like that. It was something he wasn't wanting to be a part of at the time because he still had things on the sport right side he was focusing on. So I went ahead and pushed and did it, myself. And first couple of events yielded great results, and then it just kind of blew up from there. I started taking Portuguese lessons because I wanted to go to Brazil and train jiu-jitsu at some point.
You want to know these Brazilians were talking about you behind your back.
and that. So I actually, through my teacher, she was working privately with another student, an older gentleman, who was excited to hear the type of things that I was doing. He wanted to meet me. When he met up with me and him and I started talking, and I was telling the things I was doing, he wanted to help me get the MMA off the ground because he liked fighters. He liked backing fighters, sponsoring fighters, watching fights. He helped me secure a cage, and that's how I started the cage fighting. I already had an influx of people who were coming in from the grappling who already knew my name and knew my organization at that point. Most of those to transition over to MMA, so it wasn't really hard to be able to get a lot of things kind of fell into place really well. I had assistant, I had my wife at the time, I had my instructors who were able to step up in my stead and teach classes, make sure for me do the support system. Stand up late, like you said. Yeah, sometimes there were 16, 17-hour days. I would get home teaching or doing fight camps or whatever, and I'll be up at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, booking fights for some of my amateur fighters, and then on weekends driving out of town to go to Chicago or to Ohio, to be able to Philly, to be able to take them to fights or tournaments and things like that. It was just really, really, about balancing my time, having a good support group. And I was fortunate that my family was a part of the martial arts. I made them a part of the martial arts to begin with. So everything, it wasn't like it was a fight or a divide, where it was like, this was something I was passionate about, and this is something that they didn't care nothing about. And then I would have to choose between both. We were all merged together, so everything that I did made sense because they were inclusive of everything that I was doing at the same time. So it was just a good support system, managing time well, and making sure my family was a part of each and everything that I did.
That's cool, man. And also working 7 days a week, because that's what that sounds like. You not doing that.
Yeah,
and that's not 4 or 5 days a week. So that's pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on.
That's the abridged version.
Yeah. The professor's perspective. Here we go.
So there's gonna be 2 videos. Both are north-south choke. So the position man is called north-south, and you've seen this teaching it with the gi, all right, which you don't see a lot. And I'm also teaching it with the north-south choke, and that's something that very few people do. Most people think that you have to finish it just with the neck. I want to show that you can finish it without just the neck with one arm in. And there's also some setups that I'm doing, which I'm talking about right here. There's some setups. You've seen me do one of those setups when I did that straight back. That started from this position, the north-south choke with the arm in. So when the arm is in, I don't prefer it in, but if I get caught with it in, I can not only finish the choke, but there's also other setups. So the first thing I do is I lift his head up and I make sure I get up underneath it so that I'm not on his chin, but I'm around his neck. The other arm is wrapped around his arm. That's going to be used to help be able to choke him. Because remember these chokes are just squeezing these carotid arteries here. So like a triangle choke, whereas on one side, my leg's choking him, but on the other side, his arm's choking him. I'm using the same principle for this arm in north-south choke. So underneath the neck on one side, first you scoop the head, you go underneath the neck, the other one's around the arm. So watch what happens. Once I know that I definitely have his head and I'm not on his chin at all, I start saying, sprawl my hips back. You're going to see me do something to be able to help open his neck up. The balls of my feet. So I kind of crawl back. be a little a better angle. But I use my insteps, and then I just go from instep to ball, instep to ball. That scoots me back, and what it does is it stretches his neck. So it's not like caught here where it's kind of crammed up. It stretches the neck, and then I'm able to squeeze and apply pressure, and that's how I'm able to finish that choke. My arm being around one of the carotid arteries, and then the way this has to work, you have to do. You're able to stretch that neck out, and then that's how you're able to apply pressure for this choke. In my perspective, it's a really good choke because I've noticed that at times when people just have the neck, you see, I went right there for the instep, and then I went back to the ball, and then it's going to speed it up. I think it's just a little bit faster. So you'll see, I'm going to start from the side control position, right? I check the hip there, which allows me to be able to get into this position. I get the arm around. See how I scoot up so I can get a hold of the neck, and then I go back, instep, ball, stretching them out and squeezing. My perspective works well because I've noticed that there's people that when they have the arm in and they don't just have the neck, they'll either abandon the choke or they'll open up and try to go right for the neck. And when they do that, the person will spin out. They'll lose the position. So if I just get the neck right off the bat, that's obviously absolutely a better choke. It's a much more concentrated choke. It's a lot faster and easier to finish. Less adjustments need to be made. So don't get me wrong with that. But when you have that arm in, to think that you can't finish and you have to actually let go and try to go for just the neck, that's a lot of times when you present the opportunity for your opponent to be able to escape. So rather than giving them the opportunity, I'm just going to finish it there. So I'm just going to make sure that everything's tight. I'll go instep ball, scooting my way back, stretching the neck out, and then I squeeze. Also, if you remember a few weeks ago, then I also showed that there's a evolution where you can spin around to go for a straight arm from there. So from my perspective, this works good because I don't have to actually abandon it to try to go just for the neck and risk losing the position or the submission. I still can finish it even with the arm in.
Nice. All right. Anything else, Z?
No, man, just gearing up for this new year, man. You know, I hope everybody has a safe a holiday, right? A safe new year, right? Enjoy yourself. For those of you guys that celebrate and party, don't party too hard. You know, but yeah, I'm excited for the new year and what
that's right. I agree, man.
Celebrating the new year. You have a safe new year.
All right, everyone. Stay safe, stay strong. Happy New Year. We'll holler at you next week. And I will end our stream. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys.